The strange thing about people is that many of them don't need to hate you to quietly work against you. Sometimes, all they need is access to your life. Have you ever noticed how some people become distant after hearing good news from you? How certain conversations suddenly feel different the moment you talk about your plans, your money, your relationship, your ambitions? At first, it seems harmless. You think you're simply sharing your life. But with time, you begin to notice something disturbing. The more you reveal, the more people unconsciously change around you. Not always openly, not immediately, but subtly. A strange silence, a different tone, a forced smile, a cold reaction disguised as politeness. Because human nature has always had a hidden side that most people prefer to ignore. And the moment you start speaking too much about your life, you unknowingly give people access to parts of you they were never supposed to touch. Information, weaknesses, desires, fears, dreams. Watch carefully. Some people don't listen because they care. They listen because your life gives them something valuable. Comparison, validation, control, or sometimes quiet satisfaction when things fall apart. I am the watcher, and here, in Shadow Insight, we observe the hidden mechanisms behind human behavior. In this episode, you will understand why silence has always been one of the most underestimated forms of protection, and why the people who reveal the least about themselves are often the ones who understand human nature the most. And by the end of this video, you may start seeing certain conversations very differently. If you've ever experienced betrayal, envy, or strange changes in people after sharing too much, subscribe to Shadow Insight, because most people never realize what others are truly doing with the information they give away so freely. Have you ever noticed how people sometimes change the moment they realize your life is improving? At first, everything feels normal. You share something positive, a new project, a relationship, a financial opportunity, a personal goal, and for a few seconds, they seem happy for you. But then something subtle appears, a hesitation, a forced smile, a strange silence that wasn't there before. Most people never pay attention to these moments because the reactions are rarely dramatic. Human behavior is usually quieter than that. The change often happens in small details. People begin asking more questions than before, not out of curiosity, out of comparison. How much are you making now? When is it happening? How did you manage to do that? Are you sure it's going to work? At first, these questions sound harmless, but with time, you begin to notice something strange. The more access people have to your personal life, the more they unconsciously position themselves in relation to you. Some start admiring you, others start competing with you, and some quietly begin hoping things go wrong. Not because they are evil, but because human nature struggles with comparison, especially when someone close suddenly evolves in a direction that forces others to confront their own frustrations. This is why people often support your dreams, only while those dreams still feel distant. The moment your success starts becoming real, the emotional atmosphere changes. Watch carefully. Some people love hearing about your plans, because plans are harmless. Plans are entertaining. Plans still leave room for failure. But results create discomfort, and discomfort reveals people. Have you ever wondered why some individuals suddenly become colder after hearing good news from you? Because your progress silently reminds them of their stagnation. Without realizing it, many people begin measuring their own worth against the lives of others. And this is where talking too much becomes dangerous. The more people know about your life, the more material they have to compare, judge, envy, criticize, or discuss when you are absent. Sometimes, the people listening to you are not truly listening to understand you. They are collecting pieces of information, your weaknesses, your emotional state, your insecurities, your habits. The strange thing about people is that information changes relationships. The moment people know too much about you, they stop imagining who you are, and they start calculating where they stand compared to you. This is why some of the calmest people you will ever meet reveal almost nothing about themselves. Not because they are antisocial, not because they are cold, but because experience taught them something most people learn too late. The less access people have to your inner world, the less power they have to disturb it. Most people believe conversations are simply about connection, but human nature is rarely that simple. Watch carefully. The moment someone starts asking personal questions, there is often something deeper happening beneath the surface. Because information is never emotionally neutral. Information creates psychological positioning. This is why some people feel an almost irresistible need to know what is happening in your life, your relationships, your finances, your problems, your future plans, your emotional state. At first it feels like interest. Sometimes it even feels like affection. But with time, you begin to notice that many people do not ask questions to understand you. They ask questions to understand where they stand compared to you. Jung believed that people often hide the parts of themselves they fear the most, and one of the most hidden aspects of human nature is comparison. People compare constantly, even when they pretend not to. A friend hears about your new opportunity and suddenly starts questioning their own life. A relative hears about your progress and feels a discomfort they cannot fully explain. Someone listens to your relationship story while secretly thinking about what is missing in their own relationship. This is why revealing too much about your life can slowly change the emotional balance around you. Because every detail you share unconsciously enters other people's internal world. And once it enters, it transforms into interpretation. Some people admire you, some feel inspired, but others begin experiencing something far darker, resentment disguised as friendliness. The strange thing about envy is that it rarely looks aggressive in the beginning. It often looks interested, supportive, curious. This is why many people never recognize it early enough. Nietzsche once observed that people can forgive almost anything, except someone who reminds them of what they failed to become. And this is where silence becomes powerful, because silence interrupts comparison. The less people know about your private life, the less material they have to project their frustrations onto you. Have you ever wondered why certain people become uncomfortable when you stop sharing details about yourself? Because information gives people psychological access, and once they lose that access, they begin feeling distance. Some even become irritated, not because you changed, but because they no longer feel connected to your inner world. Most people never realize this. Oversharing does not always create closeness. Sometimes, it simply makes you emotionally exposed. And exposed people are easier to judge, manipulate, discuss, or quietly resent. This is why emotionally intelligent individuals often become more private with time. Not out of arrogance, but out of observation. They noticed that many people enjoy access to your life more than they genuinely care about your well-being. And once you understand this, you start speaking differently. Not because you fear people, but because you finally understand human nature. The dangerous part is not that people listen to your life. The dangerous part is what they quietly do with the information afterward. Because human beings rarely forget emotional information, especially when it can be useful later. Have you ever noticed how some people suddenly bring up your weaknesses during conflict, Details you told them months ago, fears you revealed in vulnerable moments, mistakes you trusted them enough to confess. At the time, it felt safe. You thought, they understand me. But human nature changes when emotions change. And this is what most people fail to understand. The person listening to you today may not feel the same way about you tomorrow. A friendship can turn cold. A relationship can become resentful. A colleague can become competitive. And once emotions shift, the information remains. Watch carefully. Many people do not weaponize information immediately. They wait, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes intentionally. But eventually, your own words begin returning to you in different forms: judgment, mockery, distance, manipulation, or quiet conversations happening behind your back. Because information creates power. The more someone knows about your emotional world, the easier it becomes to predict your reactions, understand your weaknesses, or influence your decisions. Freud believed that much of human behavior is driven by hidden desires people barely understand themselves. And one of the strongest hidden desires is control. People like feeling psychologically ahead of others. They like knowing things others do not know. This is why private information spreads so easily, not always out of cruelty, but because knowing secrets gives people a strange feeling of importance. The strange thing about oversharing is that it often begins from loneliness. People want connection, validation, understanding. So they speak, and speak, and speak, until one day they realize something painful. Not everyone listening is emotionally safe. Some people study you while pretending to support you. Some memorize your weaknesses while smiling at you. Some encourage you to keep talking because your vulnerability entertains them. And the most dangerous individuals are often the calmest ones, the ones who reveal almost nothing about themselves, while learning everything about everyone else. Because silence itself creates power. The less people know about you, the harder it becomes to manipulate your image, predict your emotions, or interfere with your peace. This is why certain individuals seem untouchable socially, not because they are stronger, but because they understood something most people ignore. Visibility attracts attention, but mystery protects you. And in a world where many people quietly compete, compare, and project their frustrations onto others, protection matters more than attention. But the most uncomfortable truth is this. Sometimes the problem is not other people. Sometimes the problem is the hidden need inside you that wants to be seen. Have you ever wondered why certain people feel the urge to constantly explain their life? Why they immediately share good news? Why they reveal personal problems too quickly? Why silence feels uncomfortable to them? Because deep down, many people are not sharing information. They are seeking emotional confirmation. Confirmation that they matter, that they are valued, that their life is progressing, that someone finally notices them. And this is where human nature becomes dangerous. Because the moment your emotional stability depends on external reactions, you unconsciously give people power over your inner world. Watch carefully. Some people feel good only after others react to their success. Others feel validated only when someone listens to their struggles. Some constantly talk about their plans, because speaking creates the temporary illusion of progress. But the strange thing about external validation is that it never truly satisfies people for long. It creates dependency, a silent addiction to attention. This is why some individuals feel anxious when they stop posting, stop explaining, or stop updating others about their life. Silence forces them to confront themselves without outside reassurance. Adler believed that many human behaviors are unconscious attempts to compensate for hidden feelings of inferiority. and oversharing often works the same way. People reveal too much because they hope visibility will protect them from insecurity. But it rarely does. In reality, the more emotionally dependent you become on people's reactions, the more vulnerable you become to their opinions. And eventually, you stop living your life for yourself. You start living it through observation, through comparison, through approval. This is why some of the most peaceful individuals become increasingly private with time. Not because they hate people, but because they no longer need constant emotional confirmation from others. They understand something most people learn very late. A private life is often a peaceful life. Because when fewer people have access to your mind, your goals, your emotions, and your struggles, fewer people can influence them. And maybe this is the real reason silence feels so uncomfortable to many people. Because silence removes the audience. And without an audience, you're finally forced to ask yourself a difficult question. Who are you when nobody is watching? The strange thing about human nature is that people often reveal themselves more through your success than through your failures. At the beginning, sharing your life feels harmless, natural, human. You think openness creates closeness, and sometimes it does. But with time, you begin to notice a pattern. The more access people have to your inner world, the more influence they quietly gain over it. Some compare themselves to you, some envy you, some study your weaknesses, and some slowly change the moment your life reminds them of what is missing in theirs. This is why silence is not always secrecy. Sometimes, silence is protection. Not every thought needs validation. Not every goal needs to be announced. Not every dream needs witnesses. Because the truth most people eventually discover is this: the less people know about your private life, the harder it becomes for them to disturb your peace. And perhaps that was the hidden mechanism all along. People are not always affected by your existence itself. They are affected by the emotional meaning your life creates inside them. Your success, your happiness, your confidence, your freedom. Sometimes these things inspire people, but sometimes they expose insecurities people were trying to ignore. And that is why revealing too much can quietly change the energy around you without you even realizing it. I am the watcher. And here, in Shadow Insight, we do not simply observe what people say, we observe what human nature reveals underneath. If this episode made you see certain relationships differently, leave a comment below. What is one thing you stopped sharing with people after experience taught you to become more careful? And subscribe to Shadow Insight for more explorations into the hidden mechanisms behind human behavior. Because in the end, what if the people asking the most questions about your life are not the people who care about you the most?